Alright, I tried to hit Arc with a corruption to give it a +1 to make it a level 20, and I missed. So I went back down to a level 18. So I decided to throw on Spark, and holy shit, the reason Spark is meta and Arc is not could not be more apparent after using them back to back. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run 2 maps, both of them the same layout, pretty much the same setups. And 2 maps that are kind of similar. They don't really pump up the enemy's defense or offense. Right? Yeah, they don't pump up the defense or offense, so the enemy should feel pretty similar in both maps. And we're just going to run them back to back. I'm going to do Arc, and then I'm going to do Spark. And we're going to take a look at the extreme disparity in gem power that's going on in this early access of Path of Exile 2. Now, I've been running Arc with Aya Winter, and Aya Winter I've been using Clear, and I've just been using Arc to hit bosses with big shots. And I've been relatively happy
Americano sent YouTube.com.
But I've only been really relatively happy with it in the sense that Aya Winter has been doing the bulk of the lifting in terms of mob clear. And Arc is hitting pretty hard on bosses, but after running Spark, Spark hits harder on bosses, it does better on clear, it is everything that Arc is not. And it's kind of crazy just how much better Spark is than Arc. I like Arc as a skill better in terms of its mechanics, how it works. I like how it's chaining. Kind of reminds me of Chain Lightning from Diablo 2. But Spark is significantly better across the board in every imaginable way. So this isn't looking too terrible when you look at it. Like, oh yeah, you're just kind of cruising through, you're killing shit. Not running any league mechanics just yet, because when you throw some league mechanics on here, Arc really starts to struggle. Because it just can't clear fast enough. Unlike Spark, which clears almost instantly, and it clears everything, everywhere. It's pretty silly. With Arc, you'll get into a lot of danger if you're doing something like Delirium, or this event right here. I don't really want to run that event because I disabled all my other skills, so I don't accidentally use them, so we can see just Arc versus just Spark in a vacuum, without anything else pumping them up. So in some situations, I could probably take down elites a little bit faster with Arc if I get the crit on. Maybe just a hair faster. But with Spark, you're usually going to be off-screening, getting a lot of off-screen damage on those elites. And when you go to a boss, those sparks are going to bounce all over the place, and you're going to get a lot of projectile hits on that boss. You don't need to grab that shrine. I think it's just health to make me survive, but, you know, I don't need to grab no shrine. In order to make Arc as good as Spark, they'll probably need just base an extra 2 chains right off the bat. So it starts with an extra 2 chains, and then also increase the speed at which these chains bounce between the enemies. Because it's pretty nutty. It's pretty nutty just how much better Spark is. It's my first time using Spark. I used it a little bit through the campaign. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. But then I switched to Fireball, so I ran Fireball through the whole campaign, and Fireball is excellent still. Fireball still has nothing to compare to Spark. Spark is way better than Fireball even with the Fireball shenanigans with the additional projectiles and all that jazz. Spark is just insane. It's absolutely insane. Now, part of the reason Spark is insane is Archmage, because you're getting so many additional projectiles, and those projectiles are applying to each one of those. I mean, the Archmage is applying to each projectile, and we have so few with Arc that you're not getting as many benefits with Archmage. That didn't make a lot of sense. I did not explain that very well. But essentially, Archmage is adding damage to every attack, and because Spark has so many attacks, that's so many more instances of adding damage. So let's say a skill does 100 damage, and then with Archmage, it adds an extra 1,000, but it hits with 20 projectiles. And another skill hits with 1 projectile, but it does 1,000 damage, and then Archmage adds another 1,000 damage to it. The one with multiple projectiles, even though it has a lower base damage, because it's going to hit more times, is going to do so much more damage with Archmage. And I'm not sure, in Path of Exile 1, a lot of the skills had a magnifier effect, right? So it would say 100% magnifier, or 80% magnifier, or 20% magnifier, and these don't have that. So it's doing 19 to 36, and then this one is doing 139 to 788. But there's no scaler. There's no scaling factor. It's just straight up raw. And in Path of Exile 1, when you had something like Ball Lightning, because it attacks so quickly, they would have scalers that reduce the amount of added damage. I'm pretty sure they did that with Ball Lightning. I was mostly a melee player, and they definitely did that with things like Cyclone, because Cyclone had so fast of attack speed that they would reduce the scaling of added damage so that that attack speed would not be overpowered. Oh, well, that's just, I think that's a loot shrine. I completed the map, and I should just leave before I die like that, but I wanted to die, right? I don't want to go in a map and then not die, so I had to go in that map and die. So now let's move it over to Spark. And my Spark is 1 level higher, but 1 gem less. So I was able to hit this. Another reason I moved over to Spark. I was able to hit this. I was going for the 5 socket, but I got a level 20 instead, which is nice, But I missed out on the 5 socket, which is fine. I don't need 5 sockets. So now we're gonna run this other map with an Arc build. I mean a Spark build. And we're gonna see a ridiculous difference. And normally I'm running Snake Pit Ring. I don't know which better, Chain or Fork. I like Fork, I think, so I usually just run it with Fork. But as you can see, it is absolutely insane. The difference is monstrous. And this is why the Spark Stormweaver is the most popular build in the game. I mean, I just melted that rare pretty much just as quickly as I did with Arc, which technically should be doing more damage, but it just is not. So I'm not sure if the nerf that because they're gonna nerf this is way too powerful, way too much range. It hits everything everywhere. So the nerf that's gonna happen, I'm not sure how they're gonna handle it. I imagine they're gonna probably first nerf Archmage. And then the second nerf they might do is to add a lower multiplier of added damage to Spark. Because that added damage has way too much benefit with these extra projectiles. So enjoy it while it lasts, because there's no way they're going to let this happen for too much longer. Obviously they're going to fix a lot of the really game-breaking bugs, but they will be addressing this, no doubt. This is so much more overtuned, unless they do the cool thing, which would be to really buff Arc. Since I like Arc better as a skill than Spark, because Spark, you're not really playing the game. This is just a loot monster, right? You're just running around, instantly killing everything and picking up loot. And to me, that's not engaging gameplay. I don't really care about having a big old pile of loot. I care about having fun while playing the game. And it's not as fun of a playstyle compared to Arc. For me. Some people may love it. It looks cool, it plays cool, but you know, it's not the best. In terms of, you know, fun factor. think it's got a low fun factor just because of how goddamn strong it is. It's pretty damn nutty. But I was messing around with my build. I had my defenses pretty much settled. They're very, very strong as long as I don't stand in front of an enemy playing like an idiot. I mostly don't die. I managed to make it to level 91 from 88 using this build. I died probably between 5 and 2% of the maps, which is pretty good compared to what I used to be before. I got 66% of damage taken as mana. All the regen and recoup mechanics that I got going on. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the overtuned sparkiness. And to the people that are running the Archmage version, most of them are using Mind Over Matter with around 6,000 mana, which is making Archmage significantly stronger than this variation that I'm running here. So the difference is even more prominent in this Storm Reaver version than it is with this Chronomancer that I'm rocking. Dang, a big old block of 5,000, I will take it. It's just nutty. I probably would have killed that guy faster with Arc. Just a little bit, just a hair. But not too much. And then for Breach, it is insane for Breach. It's like Arc can't even do Breach, if I'm being honest. Like, the enemies spawn way too quickly for Arc to do Breach by itself. I could do Breach with Arc and Store Aya Winner, but by itself, I can't. Because the enemies will get right up in your face and then start hitting you, which then interrupts your casting. But with Spark, you can hit them from so far away that they don't get in your drill. You're just killing them from a distance. This is pure insanity. And I'm not sure I've ever played an overpowered skill to this level in Path of Exile 1. I think in Path of Exile 1, the most overpowered variant I ever played was probably Cyclone in Legion League when it had the massive AoE and you do all that jazz there. And this is better than that. This is... I know some of you have only played Path of Exile 2, so you don't quite understand just how overtuned this is compared to the history of GGG's skills and mechanics, but this is a level of overtuned that is bottling mines. It's putting mines in bottles. I cannot believe how powerful this is. And mine's not even a tuned version. I just slapped it in here. You know, it's probably, if 100% gear is best in slot in every piece, I'm probably between 70 and 80%. There's an extra 20% I can go on top with just my gear. And it's bonkers. It's crazy. But I am out of currency, and I do want to get a little bit harder and farm these maps as quickly as possible. So I am going to be abusing Spark for a little bit. I don't really like to abuse the ultra meta mechanics because it makes every other skill in the game feel so much worse in comparison. And then when they eventually nerf this build, which they will, this skill, and when they nerf the skill, you're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna feel like you're not doing any damage, that every build is dog shit in comparison, and you're just gonna try to bounce to the next overpowered thing. And so all you're doing is just bouncing to the best build over and over. And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people like that kind of gameplay. A lot of people like that kind of game style. They have objectives in their gameplay. They want to loot as fast as possible. They want to be as efficient as possible. That's just not how I play the game. So know that from my perspective. That's why when you see me play a lot of these videos, I'm playing weird shit. Because I am into just finding the weird shit. Finding how good can I make a piece of shit. Growing up, I always like... you didn't have nearly as many video games growing up in the 90s. There was a lot of video games, and a lot of them were very cool, so you had to make your own challenge runs. And Dark Souls kind of embraced that too, because Dark Souls is an amazing game, and people would do all kinds of challenge runs. But for Final Fantasy 1, there's a challenge run that's all white mages, right? You play with 4 white mages, it makes the game significantly harder. You can do a no-level challenge in Dark Souls. So when I play Path of Exile, in my mind, I'm doing like challenge things, right? How good can I get Arc? How good can I get a hammer-only build? How good can I get this underutilized, underpowered skill? Like, how far can I take a piece of shit? How much can I polish this turd? And that's what I like to do. I'm a turd polisher. And this Arc is a diamond. And it feels weird to use a diamond because it is so powerful, and it gets 4 extra projectiles from quality. Imagine grabbing Spark at the people that started Spark at the very beginning of the game. They started with Spark, and then they managed to find some quality to upgrade it to get extra projectiles. They probably breezed through the campaign like nobody else. It probably was nutty. But anyways, that was the difference between Spark and Arc, and it's mind-blowing. I cannot believe the difference in power. And that's probably all on... not all, but largely on Archmage. So if we take that off, let's pop it off. Boop. And let's look at some of my damage here. And then pop it on. Boop. Boop. Yeah, it's just hitting so much harder. And then because you're getting multiple projectiles, and those projectiles can overlap, and you can hit one enemy with multiple of those projectiles, it's just bonkers. Now, to me, I feel the problem is the interaction between Spark and Archmage. And the best fix is probably to limit the amount of power that added damage does for Arc. So it'll still feel really good. It will just reduce just how much Archmage is pumping up Arc. Because Archmage in itself is not that OP. When I ran it with Arc, it wasn't really breaking anything. But with Eye of Winter, Archmage is really strong. And with something like Spark, Archmage is really strong. So some of these like projectile skills that are hitting the enemies multiple times probably need a added damage debuff. So all added damage is reduced by like 70%, right? So that way you can still get that really good feel of Spark, but it's not going to be instantly melting the rares. Spark is supposed to be a skill that can kind of instantly melt the white and maybe blue mobs, but the yellow mobs are supposed to stick around just a hair because Spark is a full screen clear ability, so it's not supposed to do single target nearly as good as it's doing. And it just does everything. It just everything super well, and it's bonkers. And I'm gonna feel like shit using it because, you know, now I'm a meta cut.